Hello and welcome to another game development vlog. The first one in a really long time. The reason why it's taken so long is because I've been working on a large and ambitious project, which I'm going to show you presently. It's running here, but there will be more to show soon. And up until now, I didn't feel as though I had enough of it to show. At least not enough for you to understand the sort of full range of the game, because it's quite ambitious. But now I do, and I want to show you. And first, I'd like to just sort of define what kind of a game it is. Then I'd go through its features and explain in a little bit more detail what all of them entail. And then I'll show you more like around those features that are in the game to any extent. I'll show you those. I'll start by pressing a button here, which is going to set in motion a process. That'll take about 50 seconds. You'll see the result as it's finished. This is a party-focused, turn-based role-playing game set in a randomly generated dynamic world. That is the sort of short definition. Now I said randomly generated world, and that's what I just did. I pressed the button to start the generation of a new unique world. And you'll see it appear in a while. I said party-based, which means that you will be controlling a party of 6 to 8 people that you create at the onset of the game. So you start the game. When you start a new game, you will be asked to create a party of people, choosing from different species and professions and skills and so on, as in so many other role-playing games. There's the world. I will talk more about it soon. Well, now actually. Once you've created your party, you sort of launch them into the world, and then a world will be created for you. You won't be able to see it like this, because it is your job to explore it. And that's one of the main sort of aspects of the game, exploration. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I said that it is turn-based. It is completely turn-based, meaning that nothing ever happens unless you allow time to pass. So that might happen if you make a move, whether in exploration or in combat or in conversation, or if you wait or if you sleep, something like that. Then you allow time to pass, and the world passes a certain time depending on what you did. So if you move a step on a road, that'll be about 2 hours and correspond to a movement of about 15, 16 kilometers, about 10 miles. And if you move in the mountains, that might take a lot longer, that probably like 6 hours, 4 or 6 hours, because that's much tougher terrain. Now I said completely turn-based, but you might be noticing that there's a bit of movement going on here. The game is running in real time right now, but that is not a feature of the finished product. That is a development tool. I allow the game to run in real time to test certain mechanics and aspects. Now I said that it is dynamic world as well, and that is what this real time is testing. You see the movement here. All those little dots that move around, they represent ships and trading caravans and armies and warships. And those are sent out by cities. In this world there are cities. Those cities are the capitals of city-states. And if this is the geographical view, but if I press a button here, we can see the political view. Every color here is a nation, a unique nation. Every nation has, as I said, a capital, and in that capital there is a ruler, and the way that the nation behaves is largely based on on the personality of its ruler. And in the future there will be other persons of importance in those cities, such as merchants that are in charge of trade, and diplomats and nobility who are in charge of the the armies and the safety of the nation, security of the roads. There might be a court wizard and a few other people. Those people will have interpersonal relationships. They will sort of compete or compete and help each other depending on their personalities. There will be intrigue. That's the important part. There will be personal drama and intrigue, and there will be international drama and intrigue between the various nations. If you see a nation change color here, that means that it's been conquered by another nation. And so it will change its color to reflect that. It'll have the same color as its conqueror. Now, the reason for creating this simulation of all these relationships, both national relationships and personal, is to create a dynamic world with interesting events that you can see, just observe if you want, or take part in. So you might be infiltrating an enemy military camp to assassinate its its general leader. You might be a diplomat on a diplomatic mission. You might try to save a kidnapped noble or or prince or princess, something like that, from the dungeon of another city. You might plant evidence, false evidence, to incriminate a merchant on the orders of a rival merchant. That sort of stuff. So ranging quite a wide range of possible quests that have been generated by this and thanks to this simulation. So I wanted this dynamic aspect of the game in order to make it feel alive, the world. There will be normal quests too, so that I will write a sort of main quest and several smaller quests and quest lines that carry some story and some lore of the land. So it allows you to explore the land and find interesting, unique locations and hopefully meet some interesting characters, etc. The gameplay will occur, I will change back to the geographical view here a bit, in 4 main phases, you might say. One is world exploration, in which you'll be exploring this world, moving your party as one person, every step corresponding to about 10 miles or 16 kilometers, and taking a lot of time. And then you'll be exploring, another phase is exploring localities such as cities and castles, villages, dungeons, just interesting places in the wilderness, that sort of thing. That'll be much smaller scale, of course. And then there will be tactical combat, where you will control every single member of your party one by one, controlling their every action. Every move will just be a few seconds. And you will be facing off against groups of probably 5 to 15 enemies on average, but possibly more. Sometimes perhaps even less. And then there's a fourth aspect, which I call social events, which isn't really in the game yet. A lot of things aren't in the game yet, but I'm planning it, where you will try to, well, the goal will usually probably be getting information from someone or acquiring influence over them. So if you need information from someone, or you need access to maybe something they have, a material thing that they have, or a service from them. Let's say, to be dramatic, you would like to have a certain ruler send an army to besiege another city. Well, if you play your cards right, you might get invited to a social event, like a banquet or something at the castle, and then you might chance to have a chat with the ruler. And then if you play your cards right again, you might actually make them do that. It's going to be difficult, I'm sure. But that's going to be something I look forward to exploring. I like to make social interaction as significant and as interesting and fun as combat and world exploration. I feel that is an aspect of role-playing games that has not been explored very much, at least not as much as I'd like. And to be clear, you probably won't be partaking in dialogue in the classical sense, but rather a sort of abstraction of social interaction in which you choose a party member. They will interact with this other person, whoever that might be, and everything from how you dress to how well you dance and what you know about politics. Not you personally, but the character. The character might study politics or study science, and they might, they might be good conversationalists. They might be good at assessing people. They might be very seductive, or they might just be good at, they might be very friendly, very good at seeming friendly and creating a bond with people. These will all be skills, just like, fencing or throwing stuff and climbing and boxing and throwing grenades or forestry, all those forestry, whatever it's called, like survival skills. These will also be skill sets that you might want to develop. In my vision, your party will consist both of people who are good at fighting, people who are good at stealth, sneaking, and people who have perhaps mostly just social skills, because they will be very important. And I hope to make that into a kind of strategical game, abstract strategical game in which you play those skills as possibly as cards or something similar, in order to break down the sort of personal defenses of whatever person you are interacting with. And the further you get, the better you do at that, the more significant information they can share with you, or the more influence you might get over them. So if you want a ruler to attack another city, you will have to do very well indeed, because that's not something they just do for fun, unless they're mad, of course. I wanted to explain that a bit, because it's, tactical combat you've seen hundreds of times probably, and you have a good idea of what that might look like. But this is something quite new, quite different. I'm sure someone's done something similar sometime, but not all that many. So it's less defined in game development. Okay, so we've talked about all of those things. There's much more to talk about, but I hope to keep this a bit short and trim. So I think I'll just go into showing you around the game now, and then I'll maybe make updates about specific areas, like aspects like exploration, for example, and go into details about that in a different video. Apart from the world generation here, and that simulation I spoke of, like the world simulation of international and personal drama and all that, there really isn't much personal drama yet. There is international drama and intrigue, but I have not made much of the personal drama yet. Apart from that, the one thing I worked most on is combat, and that's what I've been working on lately. But first, let me show you this view. I'll pause here a bit. You see this character I'm moving around? That is the sort of party avatar. He represents the entire party, player party. This is a town, a city. It shows its affiliation. In this view, you can see in the top left here, there's this sort of lime green nation, actually. I don't know which one is the capital, but you can see that it has lime green banners here. And if I scroll the picture down, I saw that it had conquered another town, or possibly this town conquered it. You see here, this town has the same color. One conquered the other, that's for certain. As you see, it is hexagon based. I think you can see that. This is a hexagon tile map. I can move around with the mouse here. If I click anywhere, he will take one step towards that place, but the view won't follow, not yet. See these very rudimentary roads. Oh, a note about the graphics. All the graphics here are placeholder graphics. So they will be updated, all of them. I've decided to limit myself to a certain resolution and to a certain color palette. These graphics are not created with those limitations, but you can see them as sketches, rough sketches. So while the final graphics will not look precisely like this, I think it's going to be quite similar to this, just with those limitations and with a bit more care taken in the design. Like the roads are super rough, as you see, they're just sort of brown lines. Nothing to shout about. Even so, you see the different types of terrain. Let's see, can we find some interesting... Yes, if we walk southeast and then south, we'll find some mountains and desert as well. Different types of terrain will constitute different challenges. So moving through mountains, as I said, might take longer time. Actually, make more hours pass. Moving along the roads is the safest and most efficient way of traveling in most cases. But of course, if you want to find everything, you'll have to venture into the wilderness. And a large part of this, like the challenge and I hope the fun of this game, should be world exploration. And you will have to plan your exploration diligently, getting the right equipment and probably taking on jobs just to afford the right equipment. Even pack animals, probably. You'll be able to have pack animals like donkeys and horses and camels and similar things in order to carry more inventory. You will not be able to carry very much on each person, but as I said, if you bring pack animals and maybe even a cart, you'll be able to carry loads of stuff. But this will impact things like combat. So when you're in combat, you probably won't have all that much inventory available. That's a tactical consideration. I'll go more into detail about that in another video, I think. And here's some desert. Let's see, is there any mountain? There's mountain in the desert across the strait. Desert mountains look a bit different. So that's that. I will just nip over to the next desert across the strait here. I can move wherever I want. Just moving the sprite around. Nothing is really affected by this movement. And then I'll show you a bit how it looks when the simulation is running, because there's stuff moving on the roads and such. Where are we? Here we are. Here we go. Finally, bit of desert mountains. That's the stuff I want to show as well. Well, let's. Oh, this will be interesting. I'll just leave him there and look at this part of the world here and start the simulation again. And now you'll see that there are just loads of ships, and that as the time of day changes, there's a color overlay indicating, nighttime and dawn, and damn it, the game crashed. Actually, in order to get into the combat section fast, I'll just make the world much tinier. Like so. Now I will generate a much smaller world, you see. So that'll go very fast, and then we can go into combat, because that was... We can look a little bit at the simulation again, and then I'll show you combat. That's the last thing I wanted to demo here. In one of my past recordings, the game crashed, but I got completely sort of muted by that. Here you see that the world looks much more rough. That's because it's a much smaller world, which is much faster to generate, and you see movement is more dynamic because they move further. Everything, well, the tiles are larger, but it looks the same. Has all these ships and stuff. And then you can see, so we can see here This here is with a ship with a sort of red cross on it, on the sail. That is a warship. The other ships here are merchant vessels. Here are some merchant caravans, and you can see an army on the move. A couple of armies there actually on the roads. Very rough sprites. Of course, they will be improved, and there will be other things on the roads as well eventually. So it's going to be quite a live world. Now let's go into a super rudimentary cave. It's just a square. You can't do anything here yet, but that is the first instance of a dungeon to explore. But from here I can enter combat, which looks like this, and I can zoom in a bit more, like so. Here you see my entire party of people, 3 people there, and there is a bunch of very simplistic people. For now, the enemy has no real AI. The only thing these people do is walk to the left, 1 step at a time. And the only thing they really do is they sort of test the turn base. So who goes in which order is determined by certain statistics. Well, right now it's just agility, but eventually it's going to be a mix of various stats that decide who goes first, which order people go. That might actually change during battle. I'm not decided yet. So if you get very injured, you might become slower, for example. Not sure, but maybe. I've been working a lot lately on the framework of battle here, combat. So this is the person who's active at present has this sort of purple glow around them, and then I can indicate various tiles. Right now, I think they're set to step. That means if I press, it says step up here, that's the active command. So if I click here, for example, they will move to that green tile. Then I have 2 weapons here. I have a left hand and a right hand. There will be more buttons here with things for you to choose, and some stats of the person, some statistics. So if I click move, I can choose step or dash, which allows me to move 2 tiles in one go. I can, if I click the broadsword, I can choose between chop, slash, and stab. There will be more attacks eventually. Right now, you can actually only slash. Chop and stab are not possible options, but slash, well, I will slash at that tile, which I'm pointing at. I wonder if I can slash my friend there. Let's see. Nope, I couldn't. I'd forgotten if it was possible. And then this guy has a grenade. Actually, she also had a grenade. And it can be thrown. And then you can see I can throw that. I can throw that over these people. I hope the last one has a spear, because then I can show how that works. No, they don't, sorry. I can throw this over these people, and then that sort of lump at the end shows the blast radius. I think I added just before making this video. So if I throw it here, I should injure all these 3. And I did. That's their health displayed. And now they will move. Don't know how many, maybe all of them. No, I got to move this person. And this one also has a grenade, of course. Let me exit the game quickly and change that to a spear. So I can show you, because throwing grenades and throwing spears works differently. I can actually jump directly into combat with even without generating a world. So if I click the spear, it's another type of throw. And here you'll see that I can't throw this beyond these people, because the spear is thrown more directly. At least in this game, you can't arc a spear. And so I couldn't hit anything behind these. I can hit them though. Although I think the attack is not implemented. Well, dash mechanic then. That's about as far as I've gotten. with the game. I'm really combat is growing in leaps and bounds. Really, I added all of these actions that you see me perform. I added those in a few hours earlier this evening, and that was based on many days of adding a framework. Just the user interface is a rather large undertaking. And before that, so many other things. There's much groundwork has to be done before we can add the actual actions and gameplay. This is really the first real gameplay that has been added, and that's what I wanted. I wanted that at least something to show you, and I look forward to adding all sorts of it. But I'm going to work on combat a bit more to create some AI that does something else than just walk left, for example. I have these guys dash forward here. And then all these guys will move. So I will add some, have these guys actually consider their move, maybe make an attack, throw a grenade or two, and then we can test who will win in a contest, etc. I hope you found that interesting. It's 26 minutes now. I've been rambling on about this. But I'm really excited for this game. I don't know if I said so, but this is going to take a long time to finish. I've been working on it for 7-8 months already. It's probably like 7 months thereabouts. Not full time, but quite a lot. And I'm far from done. It's I project somewhere between 2 and 4 years of work. Now that's taking into account that I won't be able to work full time on this probably at any time, except for when I have my holiday, like I have now. I'm on holiday at the moment, and using that time to work on this, which is very nice. But otherwise, I probably won't have as much time, and progress will be slow. Even so, I hope you find this interesting and would like to follow the project. It's the most fun project I've done to date, and I'm really excited about it. There are several things here, things like the social interaction and the dynamic world, that I would like to explore further in future games as well, and dig even deeper with, very possibly in some sort of first-person role-playing game, like the Elder Scrolls games, or something reminiscent of those at least, but with a slightly different tone. Who knows? But first of all, of course, this, as I said, much work left to be done. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you look forward to new updates, which should be a little bit more frequent now that I've gotten this far in the project. With that, I wish you a good time of day, and goodbye.